In a move that has sent shockwaves through the global sports community and ignited one of the most intense debates in modern athletics, World Boxing has officially expanded its sex verification testing policy to include male athletes, marking a historic shift in how fairness, biology, identity, and competitive integrity are managed within the ring, a decision that many see as both groundbreaking and controversial as the organization steps into territory long dominated by scientific uncertainty, ethical complexity, and cultural sensitivity, because for decades sex verification tests were primarily imposed on female athletes under the justification of protecting fair competition. Yet critics argued these policies unfairly targeted women and reinforced outdated stereotypes, while men were largely excluded from such scrutiny. But now World Boxing claims that the expansion of mandatory sex verification testing to male boxers represents a move toward equality, transparency, and consistency in elite competition, insisting that the sport must evolve alongside advancements in medical science and global expectations of fairness, as boxing is not merely a contest of skill but a physically dangerous sport where biological differences can significantly affect safety, power, endurance, and risk of injury. And according to World Boxing officials, the decision is not rooted in discrimination but rather in ensuring a level playing field for all competitors regardless of gender, as the organization emphasizes that boxing's violent nature demands stricter safeguards to protect athletes from mismatched biological advantages, especially in a time when conversations surrounding sex, gender identity, and athletic eligibility have become increasingly polarized across international sports, with governing bodies struggling to balance inclusivity with fairness. And while supporters of the policy argue that standardized testing for both men and women removes double standards and promotes equal treatment under the rules, opponents warn that sex verification testing, regardless of gender, can be invasive, psychologically damaging, and scientifically flawed, pointing out that biological sex is not always binary and that hormone levels, chromosomes, and physical traits exist on a spectrum that cannot be neatly categorized by a single test. Yet World Boxing maintains that its testing protocols are grounded in the latest medical research and will be administered with confidentiality, respect, and due process, promising that athletes will have access to appeals and independent medical review panels to prevent unjust exclusion, though skepticism remains high as past experiences in other sports have shown how such policies can disproportionately affect athletes from certain regions, ethnic backgrounds, or socioeconomic conditions, raising concerns about bias and unequal enforcement. And as news of the policy spread, reactions poured in from boxers, trainers, sports scientists, human rights organizations, and fans around the world, with some male athletes expressing surprise and discomfort at being subjected to tests they never anticipated, while others welcomed the change as a necessary step to protect the credibility of the sport, arguing that boxing's future depends on public trust and clear rules. And meanwhile, female athletes who have long endured scrutiny voiced mixed emotions, with some feeling validated that men are now included under the same standards, while others fear the policy still fails to address deeper issues of gender inequality and respect within sports governance. And beyond the ring, this decision reflects a much larger global conversation about how institutions adapt to evolving understandings of sex and gender in an era where science, identity, and fairness intersect in complex ways, as governments, schools, and sports federations worldwide grapple with similar questions. And World Boxing's move could set a precedent for other combat sports such as mixed martial arts, wrestling, and kickboxing, potentially reshaping eligibility rules across the entire industry. Yet the long-term consequences remain uncertain, as legal challenges could arise, sponsorships could be affected, and athletes' careers could hang in the balance depending on how the policy is implemented and perceived by the public. And while World Boxing insists that its ultimate goal is to protect athletes and preserve the integrity of competition, critics caution that without transparency, accountability, and ongoing dialogue with athletes themselves, such policies risk undermining the very values they claim to defend. And as boxing stands at this crossroads, one thing is clear: the expansion of sex verification testing to men is more than a regulatory update. It is a defining moment that forces the sport, and society at large, to confront uncomfortable questions about biology, fairness, equality, and what it truly means to compete on equal terms in the modern world, making this decision not just a chapter in boxing history, but a reflection of our time, where science, sport, and social values collide under the bright lights of the global stage. Boxing Glove Fire Glow.